The hull of the starcruiser Ravager's Mercy groaned as it entered Virelian orbit, metal skin protesting the gravitational grip of a dying moon. Inside the warship, silence pulsed with restrained violence. The crew didn't speak unless absolutely necessary. Even the automated systems whispered, not out of fear of combat, but out of reverence. She was awake. Valeth Dracora stood barefoot on the observation deck, armored only from the waist down, her upper half exposed to the cold breath of space that filtered in through the safety shields. Her skin was pale, not in a delicate way, but like a stone carved from star-bleached marble. Tattoos, ancient and glowing faintly red, coiled down her spine in the shape of predatory beasts no longer known in this quadrant. Her long ears, elegant, angular, unmistakably alien, twitched at the hum of the planetary defenses attempting rather pitifully to lock onto her ship. She yawned. Planet 912b species, human, droned the ship's AI. Primitive bipedal mammals, limited mental acuity, strong emotional tendencies, excellent at constructing irrational hope structures out of duct tape and mythology. Valeth tilted her head. Emotional tendencies. Yes, they cry when you insult their pets. Do they bleed red? Yes. Good. She turned and strode toward the drop bay, tightening the vambrace on her left arm, one that doubled as both shield generator and blood filtration injector. She preferred her prey warm and panicking. Cold kills tasted like boredom. As the ship's drop doors opened, she took one last glance at the planet below. It looked harmless. Oceans, clouds, green patches here and there. Cute. She'd faced volcanic hives on Corvexus, danced through gamma storms over the Barrow Nebula, slit the throats of fire-breathing governors on Arctal Prime. This was going to be a nap wrapped in a battle. The descent pod hit Earth's atmosphere like a falling god. Flames licked its surface. A cluster of satellites tried to target her but fizzled into scrap as she passed through them like a curse. The pod impacted just outside a resistance stronghold, Zone 12, according to her briefing. A decaying broadcast tower surrounded by makeshift barricades, gutted vending machines, and a few surprisingly enthusiastic graffiti portraits of a mustached man wielding a plunger. She emerged through the smoking wreckage like a myth breathing steam. The defenders screamed. Plasma fire rained against her armor and dissipated like raindrops on stone. She barely noticed. Her glaive snapped into her hand with a hiss of magnetic charge. She cut through the first barricade like slicing into overripe fruit. The second line of defense, some sort of haphazard robot built out of a washing machine and a desk fan, actually tried to punch her. She decapitated it mid-sentence. The resistance scattered, some fled, some begged. One tried to play dead next to a box labeled emergency chili. She stepped over him, then she heard the laugh. It wasn't brave, it wasn't maniacal. It was somewhere between bewildered and "I can't believe I'm doing this," followed by a cough and the unmistakable sound of a man trying to slap the dust off his own pants with both hands. She turned. There, leaning awkwardly against a half-collapsed vending machine, was a man, human, tallish, unshaven, holding what looked like a crowbar, though he was gripping it upside down. His armor was a mismatched patchwork of scavenged plating and a faded patch that read Wren, Junior Mechanic. He squinted at her. "So, you're with the tax office." Valeth narrowed her eyes. "You are the leader of these insects." He blinked. No, I just fixed their toasters, but someone has to stall you while the others escape, and I lost rock, paper, scissors. Twice." She walked forward slowly. His heart was racing. She could hear it, smell the adrenaline, taste the defiance. Still, he didn't run. He raised the crowbar like a man who knew full well it would accomplish nothing but wanted to die with comedic timing. "What's your name, insect?" Elias Wren. "But you can call me the disappointing finale to your invasion arc." She struck, a blur of motion, glaive swinging for his chest. He dodged poorly and took the blow on his shoulder, rolling down a slope of gravel and construction debris. She followed. He groaned as he stood. Okay, ow, not gonna lie, that felt personal. You still stand, she said, voice low, puzzled. Why? Because if I don't, I'm going to be a splatter on this very stylish pile of rubble. He shifted his stance. Also, I once made a bet that I could survive first contact, and I'm very stubborn about my debts. She launched at him again. This time he countered, not well but with surprising timing. The crowbar hit her glaive shaft, and for a moment sparks flared between them. You fight like a child, she said. You hit like my Aunt Brenda. She hit him harder. He went down with a yelp, coughed, and lay still. For a moment she thought it was over. Then he groaned. Okay, time out. Can we just regroup emotionally? She knelt beside him. You cannot win. You do not even fear me. Oh, I fear you tremendously. You're like a fever dream crossed with a blender. Then why? He opened one eye. Because if I die now, I never get to tell anyone I made an alien vampire annoyed enough to monologue. She paused, blinked, and laughed just once. A sharp exhale, a sound she hadn't made in over 100 years. It startled her. He took the opportunity to slap her leg with the crowbar. Really? She said. Worth it. She stood, looked down at him. He tried to rise again, failed. Then tried again and stood, still standing, still smiling. Her eyes narrowed, not in rage but curiosity. Somewhere deep inside her engineered mind something cracked. What in the void was this man? She turned and walked away. He coughed. Wait. That's it. She didn't look back. We fight again soon, Elias Wren. Try not to die before then. He grinned after her. You say that like it's optional. Elias Wren woke up with a piece of rebar in his sock. A dead, calm device fused to his wrist, and the gentle scent of smoldering vending machine in his nostrils. Above him, the sky flickered with the afterglow of orbital fire, casting a sickly orange across the ruins of Zone 12. Somewhere nearby, a flaming chunk of satellite hissed in a puddle. He tried to sit up. Something in his back popped like bubble wrap. Okay, he muttered. On a scale from 1 to dismembered by a mythological murder elf, I think I'm hovering around a solid 9.0. He scanned the horizon. No long-eared vampire in sight. Just scattered smoke, twisted debris, and miracle of miracles, a half-functional coffee dispenser wedged into a crater. He hobbled toward it. The machine blinked once, spat out a cup of something the color of despair, and immediately short-circuited with a wheeze. Elias took a sip. I missed you, terrible bean juice. His earpiece crackled. Wren, are you dead? Because I swear, if you got killed without filling out the requisition forms. Still alive, he croaked, tapping the cracked communicator. Minor bruising, mild dignity loss, and a confirmed encounter with the galaxy's scariest dental model. Did you delay her? Define delay. There was a long silence. He sighed. Yeah, I did, and she laughed. So either I'm charming or she's plotting something worse than death. Not sure which yet. The comm cut out. Standard for resistance tech, it worked great until you needed it most. Elias tucked the device into his belt and surveyed the area. Bodies were gone, moved or recycled. He didn't want to think too hard about which. All that remained were the marks, burned lines in the soil where her blade had kissed the ground, and strange symbols etched in the steel wall of the power station. He squinted. One of them looked suspiciously like a heart. Great. A homicidal space vampire with artistic leanings. Just my luck. A rustle behind him. He spun, weapon drawn, though in this case, weapon was a partially melted wrench fused to a metal pipe. Relax, genius, said a voice from the shadows. A figure stepped out, short, heavily armored, visor cracked from a recent scuffle. Captain Juno Cade. She looked him up and down with all the enthusiasm of someone inspecting a used hover toilet. You survived, she said flatly. Didn't even have to use my backup spleen. You don't have a backup spleen. I do now. Found it in the rubble. Might be synthetic, might be a sausage. Time will tell. She sighed. Come on. Command wants to debrief you before she comes back to finish the job. As they walked, Elias noticed the air had changed. The usual static of resistance zones, the smell of ozone, overheated battery packs, and fear was heavier now. The survivors moved in silence, their eyes flicking toward the sky as if expecting her to drop again from orbit. Inside the bunker, a flickering projector cast a grainy image of Valith on the wall. Her face impassive, her ears long and regal, eyes like twin supernovae waiting to implode. "This," said a voice from the back of the room, "is the enemy you faced." The speaker was a wiry scientist named Ferric, chief of intelligence, and wearer of the galaxy's worst turtleneck. "She is genetically engineered, half warrior, half predator, capable of rapid regenerative healing, plasma resistance, and adaptive combat logic. She also has fangs, for reasons we can't fully explain." "Pretty sure it's for biting," Elias said. Ferric ignored him. "She belongs to the Blood Sons, an ancient vampire warclan, extinct until recently. Her reappearance suggests something bigger." Elias raised a hand. "Just a thought. Maybe don't poke the space vampire with sticks." "She spared you," Ferric said slowly. "Why?" Elias leaned back in his chair. "Because I'm adorable." No one laughed. "Look," he said, more serious now. "I don't think she's used to people standing up to her. Most folks scream, run, explode, or try to bribe her with chocolate. I made her laugh. That confused her. Maybe I remind her of someone. Maybe I'm just a talking inconvenience." Juno stepped forward. "So what do you want us to do? Mount a defense, relocate, throw garlic at her?" Elias hesitated. "No, I want to find her." Ferric blinked. "You what?" "She let me live, which means she wants something. Information, amusement, who knows, but if I find her I might get answers, maybe even buy us time." "That's suicide." "Most of my plans are." An hour later, Elias left the bunker with a pack of gear, a single-use drone, and 3 protein bars that tasted like sorrow compressed into granola. He hiked through the ruins of the resistance zone, scanning for signs of alien energy. He didn't find her, she found him. It was just past twilight. He was halfway through eating one of the bars, chewing like a man at war with his own tongue, when she landed behind him with the grace of a falling dream. "Hello, Elias." He nearly choked. "Okay, that's an entrance." Valith stepped forward, glaive retracted, armor dimmed. Her ears twitched as if adjusting to the breeze. "You searched for me." "Yup, figured I owed you at least one rematch/awkward conversation." She tilted her head. "Why, your species usually runs." He shrugged. "Running hard on my knees, and I think you're not here just to kill us." She studied him, eyes narrowing. "You believe in mercy." "No, I believe in the power of confusing your enemy until they question their entire worldview." Valith smiled. It wasn't warm, but it wasn't hostile either. "I have questions," she said. "Me too," Elias replied. "Like, why do you smell faintly of lightning and cinnamon?" She didn't answer. Instead, she turned and began walking. "Come," she said, "we speak without weapons tonight." He followed, of course he followed. Because some part of him, deep down and entirely illogical, wanted to know what came next. The cave was not what Elias had expected. He had imagined a cold, echoing cathedral of jagged rocks and ominous dripping noises. Instead it was cozy. Warm light shimmered from bioluminescent vines winding along the walls. The air smelled faintly of ozone and crushed berries. A small artificial fire, clearly alien tech, hovered above the ground, crackling without fuel, throwing soft shadows across the cavern. Valith sat on a stone that looked suspiciously throne-like. She tapped a control disk on her wrist. A shimmering shield expanded, sealing the cave in a bubble of silence. No transmissions would pass. No drones would eavesdrop. They were alone, and the galaxy had no say in what happened next. Elias examined the fire. "So this is your secret vampire lair. Bit more spa treat than I imagined. Do you also offer exfoliation rituals and complimentary drinks with tiny umbrellas?" She did not smile, but her ears flicked. "I could flay your molecules into vapor." "Sure, but then who would keep the jokes coming?" He sat down across from her and immediately regretted it. The stone was cold and shaped like it had personal beef with human anatomy. Okay, let's do this. No weapons, no guards, no backup plans, just you and me. And this deeply hostile rock. She leaned forward. You confuse me, Ilias ran. Believe me, you're not the first. I confuse myself at least twice a day. Sometimes just by walking into rooms and forgetting why I'm there. You faced death with humor. You stood after I struck you. You sought me out knowing I am your executioner. Are you mad? Statistically, possibly. But I think it's more that I'm tired of being scared, of running, of watching people die while we wait for someone else to do something. He shrugged. So I stood, you didn't kill me, now we're here, weird day. Valith looked at him, as if trying to read the instruction manual to his soul. My people were bred in the dark heart of war. The blood suns were forged to crush, not to question. I have known centuries of conquest, and yet, she hesitated. You make me wonder. Wonder what? If survival is the same as purpose. Elias blinked. That might be the most poetic existential crisis I've ever witnessed from someone who tried to turn me into soup. She stood pacing slowly around the fire. There is something else. I encountered resistance code on your tower's remains. Your name was tagged in the system logs of a forbidden satellite uplink. You accessed ancient archives. I have too, he said, still chuckling. It's either laugh or cry, and crying short-circuits my goggles. A long silence passed between them. She sat again, more slowly this time. There is a decision before me, Elias. My people believe I am hunting you. They believe I will return your heart in a cryobox, but I have sent them no signals. I have hidden instead. I wait here, in your dirt-soaked caves, unsure of what I have become. He looked at her for a long moment. You're becoming someone who thinks. That is not a virtue in my culture. It is in mine. Well, sometimes, depends on the government. Her eyes met his. You joke even now, why? Because if I don't, I'll remember that you could kill me in 3 seconds flat, and that this might be the last time I ever get to be honest with anyone. Another silence, this one heavier but not cruel. She reached into a pouch and withdrew a flask, uncorked it. Offered it. What's in it? He asked. Essence of plasma root and fermented cur seed, mildly toxic to your species, potent hallucinations, do not sip, observe. She poured a drop onto the stone. It hissed. The smoke curled upward and formed impossibly the shape of her face. Then his. Then both together locked in some unknown future. Elias sat back. Okay, that's not ominous at all. It's called truth vapor, she said. It shows only what is possible when lies are left behind. He let out a breath. That's beautiful. Also, I'm 90% sure I just saw us holding hands, which is probably illegal in 3 quadrants and definitely confusing for my therapist. She was watching him now, still and silent. The firelight danced across her armor. Then her voice came, softer than before. If I told you I wanted to defect, leave the Blood Suns, abandon the hunt, would you help me survive? He didn't hesitate. Yeah. You trust me? Nope, not even a little, but I trust what I've seen. You laugh now, you wonder, that's enough for me. She rose and extended a hand. Her clawed fingers curled slightly, not as a threat, but an invitation. Elias took it. He stood, still standing, still smiling. They stole the ship at midnight. It wasn't an elegant heist. There were no stealth suits, no synchronized countdowns, no tense background music scored by invisible orchestras. There was just Elias, crouched behind a crate labeled organic lubricant, do not shake, whispering to himself about how he had absolutely no idea what he was doing. Valith stood nearby, leaning against the docking port controls with the elegance of someone who had vaporized 6 guards earlier that evening and still hadn't decided if she regretted it. Your people, she muttered, watching him poke a console with a multi-tool made mostly of copper wire and wishful thinking, have developed spaceflight, and yet your airlock override passwords are 4-digit numbers. It's called simplicity, Elias said, wrenching something that probably shouldn't have been wrenched. You know, the art of leaving room for catastrophic failure. There is no art in this. Tell that to the guy who once hotwired a freighter with a spoon and a battery-powered toothbrush. He paused, tapped a key, and was rewarded with a soft click. There, welcome aboard the Starhopper's Folly, Class 3 scout vessel. Smells like burnt ham, but flies like a drunk mosquito. The doors slid open. Inside, the ship was smaller than Valeth preferred and uglier than Elias remembered. Panels flickered. Seats had duct tape tattoos. The nav screen displayed a permanent error in 3 languages. Elias climbed into the pilot's chair and patted the dashboard. She's not fast, she's not clean, and she complains like a pensionied warbot, but she's ours. Valeth stepped in, nose wrinkling. What is that smell? I'd tell you, but then I'd have to file a health hazard report, which would involve paperwork, and I fear that more than I fear you. They launched with little ceremony. The ship groaned like it had just been woken from a bad dream, then lurched into low orbit. Below them, the Earth shrank into shadow. Above, the stars opened like a wound in the sky. Elias set course for the outer belt. We've got maybe 6 hours before your former employers figure out where you're not. Less, if they upgrade from paranoid to actually competent. Valeth nodded. The Blood Sons will not send messengers. They will send Executioner Corps. Cheerful name. Sounds like someone who writes poetry and kicks puppies. He eats poetry and kicks planets. Well then, good thing we brought snacks. He handed her a foil-wrapped energy bar labeled Choco Nutri Fudge. Flavor unknown. She examined it with the suspicion one might reserve for ancient cursed artifacts. He settled back in the pilot's chair. So, where exactly are we going? There is a station near the edge of the Gleason Verge, she said. Neutral ground, unaligned traders, shadow brokers, informants, and a woman named Trask. Friend of yours. She once tried to sell my teeth, but she owes me a favor. Sounds like the beginning of a beautiful, mutually distrustful friendship. As the ship coasted through the outer rim, they shared silence broken only by the ship's occasional mechanical cough. Elias fiddled with the comms, pulling up an old Earth music archive. A synthwave track crackled to life, throbbing bass, echoing snares, something about chasing destiny through the neon sea. Valeth tilted her head. Is this ritual? It's called a road trip playlist. It's how we mortals prepare ourselves for the inevitability of engine failure and bad decisions. She watched the stars for a long moment, then spoke. Why did you agree to help me, Elias? He shrugged. Because every war has people who fight, but not enough who stop to ask if the war makes sense. You think I regret. I think you're trying to remember what you were before they told you what you had to be. Valeth looked away. Before the programming, I remember color, a field, laughter, my sister chasing me beneath twin moons. Her voice softened. That memory should not exist. The Blood Sons purge everything, but it clings. Elias didn't respond. Instead, he passed her a cup of something warm from the ship's auto-brew unit. It tasted faintly of cinnamon and motor oil. Memory's stubborn, he said. So are people, even the long-eared, plasma-blooded ones. She sipped. She didn't gag, which he took as a compliment. By the time they reached the Gleason Verge, the station was already visible, floating like a spider's web made of rust and neon. Cargo haulers drifted by, blinking their lights in coded greetings. Docking bots swarmed like lazy wasps. A glowing billboard hovered nearby, advertising hot drones in your area in 12 dialects. As they docked, Elias turned to her. You sure we're not walking into a trap? She unsheathed a dagger from her belt and tucked it into her boot. We're definitely walking into a trap. He grinned. Great, just making sure we're on the same page. The station airlock hissed open. A mixture of smells hit them. Ozone, fried algae, something suspiciously like wet socks. Loud music thudded in the background. Hollow signs flickered overhead, offering everything from robotic massages to teeth whitening, sometimes in the same kiosk. Elias stepped out first, scanning the crowd. This place makes my digestive system nervous. Valeth walked beside him, taller than anyone else in the corridor, regal even without her full armor. People made way. A few whispered. One small child pointed and shouted, "Look, Space Elf. Before being yanked away by a panicked vendor, they found Trask in a floating bar called the Molten Nebula. She was exactly as Valith remembered. One eye replaced with a glittering cybernetic, 3 arms 2 real, 1 decorative, and an accent thicker than neutron jelly. Well, well, Trask purred, swirling a drink that smoked ominously. If it isn't the exiled fangs of House Dracora, and her pet mechanic. Elias raised a hand. Technically, I'm more of a freelance disaster. Trask leaned forward. You've got a lot of eyes on you, dear Valith. Lot of bounty hunters sharpening their teeth. I'm not here to be hunted. I'm here for information. Information's expensive. Valith leaned closer. I didn't come to bargain. Trask chuckled. No, you came to bleed the truth from me as usual. She tossed a chip onto the table. Fine, 1 whisper on the house. The Blood Suns aren't just hunting you. They've activated Protocol Redwake. Valith went still. Elias frowned. That sounds unpleasant. It's worse than that, Sugarplum. It means they're sending the original. Valith whispered the name like a curse. Varox. Trask grinned. Hope your little human friend has good life insurance. Elias drained a suspicious-looking shot and wiped his mouth with the back of his sleeve. Joke S on you. I can't afford insurance. They left the bar knowing what hunted them now. As they walked back toward the ship, Elias looked up at her. So, on a scale of 1 to doomed, where are we? Somewhere between evaporated and existentially pulverized, she replied. He cracked his neck. All right, let's go punch destiny in the teeth. The sky above Syndrax 4 was the color of bruised chrome. Storms howled through the canyon valleys, electromagnetic bursts tearing across the atmosphere like drunk fireworks. It was a place no sane person would visit unless they were looking for a spectacularly stupid way to die. Fortunately, Elias Wren had never been accused of sanity. He checked the charge on his handheld disruptor. Still, it probably won't explode. Good enough. Valith stood nearby, silent, focused. She had shed the last of her Blood Sun's insignias, replacing them with a crude patch Elias had stitched together. A half-sun, half-gear symbol, which he insisted represented cosmic balance and excellent tool usage. It looked more like a confused potato, but she wore it anyway. Are you sure he's coming? Elias asked, peering over the ridge. He's already here, she said. I can feel it. Seconds later, the clouds split open like a curtain. From above descended a ship shaped like a fang carved from obsidian, flanked by 2 scorched moons. A sonic blast rattled the stones around them. The executioner had arrived. Valith stepped forward. Stay behind me. Elias gripped his disruptor. You really think I've made it this far just to hide behind someone cooler and better armed than me? Yes. Well, yeah, okay, fair, but I'm still helping. The ship landed with a low-pitched growl. From it emerged Varox, the original. The legend. 7 feet tall, built like a myth with bad intentions, his armor pulsing with ancient red circuitry. He didn't walk so much as unfold from the shadows. His eyes met Valith's. You are broken. Valith's hand went to her glaive. I am free. You abandoned your lineage, your programming, your purpose. I found something better. Varox turned his gaze to Elias. This is the human. Elias gave a little wave. Hi, I fix microwaves. Without further warning, Varox moved. Fast, too fast, he struck. Valith met him mid-charge, their weapons clashing with a thunderous snap. The ground quaked. Rocks lifted. Light warped. Elias ducked, rolled, and aimed at a weak spot he'd spotted in Varox's thigh joint. His shot bounced off with a laughable ping. Note to self, he muttered, shoot your gun next time. The duel continued, brutal and beautiful, a dance between titans. But Varox was older, stronger, and Valith was tiring. He caught her off balance, sent her sprawling. Elias shouted and ran toward her. Hey, rust for brains. Varox turned. Elias hurled a small device at his feet. It looked like a toy. It beeped twice and exploded in a burst of bright, disorienting light. Varox staggered. Valith rose, coughing. What was that? Flashbang made from stolen mining charges and the core of a malfunctioning coffee maker, Elias said. I call it the caffeinator. With Varrock's reeling, Valeth struck, not to kill but to sever the power nodes in his armor. One by one, she carved through the lines feeding his strength. With a final cry, she drove her blade into the ground, and the armor collapsed around him like an empty shell. Varrox fell to his knees. You would end me for a human. I would end you for me, she said. He just reminded me I existed. She turned to Elias. You all right? He was trying to shake off a ringing noise in his ears. Hearing's optional, right? They didn't kill Varrox. They left him there in the dust, drained and defeated. The Blood Suns wouldn't take him back. They had no use for weakness. Back aboard the Starhopper's Folly, they sat in the cockpit in silence. So, Elias said, sipping from a dented thermos, we're fugitives from a vampire warclan, hunted by bounty hunters, and down to half a tank of fuel and a granola bar with suspicious texture. Valeth nodded. Sounds like freedom. He smiled. You ever think about what comes next? She leaned back. I thought I would die before asking that question. Now I think we make something new. He glanced at her, like a resistance. Or a repair shop, she said. I am very good with blades. You are adequate with toasters. He laughed. We'd make a killing. She tilted her head. Or not, and that's acceptable too. They left the system at half thrust, engines whining, stars sliding past like slow fireworks. Elias leaned over. Hey, you ever thought of changing your name? She looked at him. To what? I don't know, something